G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Winemaking Wednesday, and today I'm looking at a wine from the Other Wine Company. It's a brand that the very well known Australian brand Shaw & Smith started in I believe 2015 I reckon it was, and they started with a Pinot Gris and a Grenache, and over the years they've added a Rinto, another white wine, Sauvignon, another white, and also Barbera to the portfolio. But today we're going to taste, of course, the 2022 Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris is sort of the French version of the Italian Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio is typically a little bit leaner in alcohol, more focused and austere, whereas the Pinot Gris typically has this a little bit higher in alcohol usually. It's usually got some barrel ferment component to it. It's more textural. It's gras, with the French word gras, sort of fatness to it. This wine, they source it, it's 100% from the Adelaide Hills. There's 3 sites, I believe, from which is shared between Balhanna and Charleston, which is sort of in the sort of western side, sort of heading to north in the Adelaide Hills. A little bit still cool, but a tiny bit warmer and drier than, say, somewhere in Lenswood or Piccadilly, which sort of central Adelaide Hills. The fruit's all hand-picked, and in 2022, after some great winter and early spring rains in 21, I mean the soil profile was very full of moisture, so we had a great start to the vintage, really good shoot growth, pretty good weather through flowering and set, and then we had lovely dry, reasonably mild conditions through the growing period. So fruit was able to had good hang time, really slow flavour development, but wonderful acidity retention as well. So the wine's about 13% alcohol, so it was probably picked to that sort of mid to high 12 Beaumet sort of mark. But in a vintage like 2022, that sort of numbers are reasonably irrelevant because of the hang time and the slow flavour development. The alcohol was sort of irrelevant, really. Excuse me. It was hand-picked, pressed off, juice was fermented pretty well with full solids, so obviously adding that sort of texture and another dimension to the wine. Percentage of it was in stainless steel, and then the rest of it was in older French puncheon, so 500 litres or 600 litres, I'm not sure which that sort of volume was, either 500 or 600. And after fermentation, it was left on gross lees for another 4 months, just to add that textural component, sort of as the yeast goes through a process called autolysis. It sort of the cells break down and this adds this creaminess and richness and weight to the wine. Excuse me. Without further ado, let's give it a crack. Obviously, Shaw & Smith are making some cracker wines, and I think the Other Wine Company just gave them an avenue of just playing around with just some alternative varieties and some different things, and great concept, lovely little simple packaging, nice sort of a pastel sort of light blue colour labels, but look at that, really, I mean, pale straw in colour, and some nice sort of white pear notes there. You can see there's sort of some citrus, but there's some nice little lift. There's a bit of, I reckon it is definitely a sort of a yeasty note, sort of a lift. There's sort of cashews and florals, and there's a lot going on. A little bit of spice. And similarly on the palate, there is that some nice roundness to it, but some really good acidity and really good drive. Good balance between some texture and that acidity. Very focused, very clean, very long, well-made wine. I mean, these guys have got a great facility up there in Balhanna, make some wonderful wines, and this is no exception. Yeah, the nice sort of, it's got this, right at the end there's that sort of that creaminess, I think, from sitting on yeast leaves. It's sort of like a custard apple sort of beurre blanc, sort of a pear sort of, not beurre blanc, yeah, sort of a bit of a beurre blanc, but a sort of a pear custard apple sort of character right on the end, and really sort of a creaminess, roundness, right, finishes off. But the acidity's there, lifts it all up, pretty lovely and fresh. I'd like to see probably a little bit more texture and a little bit more, a touch more complexity, but overall, I mean, it's a very, very good wine. Well made, super clean. Even now, it's just changing in the glass. Those sort of pear notes are coming through more intensely. And more floral as well. And there's some sort of a flinty yeastiness in the background as well. And sort of what I call a very, very light oyster shell note as well. Overall, lovely wine, fresh and lively, lovely flavour and texture, good length, balance. Yeah. 22, the other wine company, Pinot Gris from Adelaide Hills. Thanks for listening.